Hi folks, today I'm just doing a little video about my NavAtlas intercom in my Honda Talon. Now, most people put them in the dashboard and there's not a lot of spare compartments in here. Like if you've got your phone and your wallet in here, you're going to start running out of space, and if you put like a radio in or whatever, you're going to end up running out of space in here. So although you can buy bracket kits and that, and it will put it neatly in a compartment like this, apparently you have to cut the compartment up as well. So it's going to be sort of a permanent modification. So, and what I did was I mounted it up here on the roll bar. Now I bought these clamps here from Amazon. They're a 2-inch clamp, and bolted the bracket to it. The bracket just goes straight, bolts straight up here. And there's 2 brackets. I had to trim a little bit of plastic out of where the roof folds over the other roof. But the reason I put it up there is because it's in a much better spot for the cables. If your cables are coming from down here, they'll always be pulling downwards while you're driving along, and they're going to get in the way. So now when I'm in the vehicle here, I will just put the phone down for a sec. Just bear with me. I'll put the headset on, turn the camera around. So when I have the headset on here like this, you can see that the cable is not in the way. It's just hanging nicely down there. So it's I think it's a better spot to put it. So let's just take that off and turn that back around. So putting it up in the middle, you don't need the extension cables. Now quite often they'll sell you, different companies will sell you extension cables, and you know, they can add up 20 bucks a cable and another 4 of those or whatever. And the extension cable idea is to put the cables down in a place that you can easy access them. But that requires a lot of work. You're running cables through the car and all sorts of dramas. So I put it up here. What I also did is, after I plugged the cables in the back, I zip tied the cable that hangs down onto the side of the bracket. And the reason for that is that if this cable gets pulled, it's not pulling on the plug and potentially damaging the plug. Now, if it was built into the vehicle, that plug's probably not going to get damaged, but it's going to be in behind your dashboard, and you're going to have an extension cable coming out, and then you're going to have another cable plugged into it. But this way just keeps it nice and secure. And the other thing that I did is I wired it directly to the battery. Now, I ran the cables along the roll bar. I'll just make my way out of here. I ran you can see here the power cable, positive and negative, goes into a plug here, goes into a filter, which is meant to filter out interference from the engine. Now I've got it wired straight to the battery, so it's going to be less of a concern, but I'll get back onto the subject of the filter in a minute. But just zip tied it around the roll bar. I taped up the wires so that they were they're a bit more protected against the roll bar, so that they're not going to rub through. And then I ran it down into the air box. Oh, not the air box, sorry, the battery box. And the battery box here. Pull this cover off one-handed. And then I have the cables coming in. I have another fuse down here just in case the wires rub on the roll bar or get cut or shorted out for some reason. It's good to have another fuse. And then you've got the terminals onto the battery down here. Easy to do. Saves the drama. The only thing is that you're going to have to make sure that you switch the unit off after you've used it, because if you don't do that, and if the vehicle is in storage or whatever, you could potentially run the battery flat after a while. It'll probably take a long time, but it is potentially could happen. I don't have a radio connected to this, so the aerial's just tucked in the back here, and that's going to work if I ever decide to get a radio hooked up to it, which is really not important down here. Radio reception's not the best anyway. So yeah, bolted it into the middle of the vehicle, solves a whole heap of problems, gets the cables out of the way, and it also keeps it up out of the weather, so it's up nice and high. Chance of getting water into there compared to getting water down there with no windshield. It's going to be a much better place to have it. Now originally when I had the headsets in this machine, I had these Bufeng radios, and then I had these rugged radio headsets which I just happened to buy somewhere. I probably bought them online. There was a good deal going. After a while, these ones get a little bit uncomfortable, I believe, and they look very much the same as the NavAtlas ones in their design. This here is a little bit clumsy, but does work. You've got to keep the microphone pretty close to your mouth so that you don't get you get a clearer voice. And you know, this worked. It worked quite well. We had two of these, but the problem was mounting these in the vehicle. It's not that easy. You would think, oh, we'll just stick it in and it'll clip onto somewhere. Well, it wasn't really easy to clip into somewhere. So if you touched these, they would go off channel. You know, buttons that accidentally gets pushed, even just going from A to B would change the channel up on here between the two channels. Like you've got a couple of channels here, it flicks in between those. So if you can mount them in the vehicle, all right, they do work well, and they can work well if you're out of the vehicle and walking around and you need to have two-way communication. But having it built into the vehicle is much better, and it's going to be much better long term because I can run 4 headsets off it. I got 2 more headsets through NavAtlas, and they were pretty inexpensive, and they look very similar to the headsets that cost a whole lot more. So I think they were blowing those out for $99 a set. So I got a couple of sets for the back passengers. So yeah, looking forward to having this in the vehicle. It's not the first NavAtlas 10 radio I had in here. I originally put one in about a month ago, and I'd bought it on eBay, and I think someone bought it and it didn't work properly, or they damaged it. And this is the unit here. Didn't buy it directly from that NavAtlas. I bought it, as I say, just online off someone. And what ended up happening is the filter, the inline filter here, and let's see where it is, just here, it blew a fuse straight away when I turned it on, and I'm like, what the hell? Double checked my wiring, triple checked my wiring, everything was correct. But this little critter in here that filters out interference, something was wrong with it, and somehow, or something, or maybe the unit here shorted out or inside, but it blew this and actually left marks, like a melt mark into the filter. So I thought, to be on the safe side, I'm just going to buy a whole kit, headsets, radio, cables, everything that I needed, and then look back at whether it's this that was faulty or whether it was the filter that was faulty, and then I can go with this unit. The only thing I noticed is this unit was in the vehicle, never used, because, well, it didn't work. This filter had screwed up, and is that maybe they could use stainless steel screws on here. I'm driving up beaches and stuff a lot, and noticed that they're getting some pretty good corrosion on these screws, and same on the back as well. But other than that, hooked this unit up and tried it out. It worked great. NavAtlas were great to deal with. I didn't discuss this unit here that I'd already bought. I did say I'd bought some stuff, but didn't get into detail until I could actually pull it out and get a proper multi-tester onto it and see what was going on. But they were great to deal with. They shipped it down here to Baja, Mexico for me with FedEx. I picked it up at the FedEx office. I dealt with Patrick there at NavAtlas, and they chucked in a couple of t-shirts as well. And yeah, all over, it was a really good experience dealing with them. We had a little bit of trouble with my credit card because it's a Canadian credit card, buying something in the US to be sent to Mexico, and the credit card company really didn't like that very much. So no one's real fault. I guess the credit card company was doing their job. But yeah, now it's all set up. Great place to mount it. I'll just show you again. They are the mounts. They clamp right onto the bars. Then you have the unit itself, which I put on a slight angle, and then put the zip ties around so it doesn't damage the cables on the way out. So yeah, any questions about it, just message down in the comments. NavAtlas 10. They're a good unit.